Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. This time we're taking a close look at how virtual reality could be used to help reduce anxiety in autistic individuals. And we've got some really cool research and articles to dive into today. Given your interest in autism, this should be right up your alley.
Definitely a hot topic right now.
It is, and we're going to be focusing on a study from the Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders. It was a randomized controlled trial. So that means the researchers, they split the participants randomly into different groups just to make those results more reliable. And this study looked at autistic individuals ages 10 to 17 who also have anxiety, which is a pretty common thing, actually. It affects about 40% of autistic youth.
Yeah, it's a significant number for sure.
Yeah, it is. And the researchers, they wanted to see if virtual reality therapy could be more effective than the usual anxiety treatments.
And that's a big question,
Mhm.
because for a lot of people, traditional therapy, it doesn't always work for everybody.
Right, exactly. So in this study, one group received VR therapy while the other received standard anxiety treatment. And what's so interesting about the VR therapy is that it used these simulated social situations.
Yeah, it's like having a virtual rehearsal space,
Yeah.
where you can practice navigating those tricky social scenarios that might usually make you anxious. But the key here is that it's all in a safe environment. No real-world consequences. You can experiment. You can build your confidence over time.
That makes a lot of sense. So did it work?
The results were pretty incredible.
Hmm.
Honestly, the group that used VR therapy saw a 30% reduction in their anxiety symptoms.
Yeah.
And that's compared to the group who got the standard treatment. And this wasn't just like, people saying, oh, I feel better or whatever. They measured it using this standardized tool called the Anxiety Disorders Interview Schedule.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. We call it the 80s for short. But basically, this tool helps researchers make sure that they're measuring anxiety in a consistent and accurate way.
Okay, so 30%, that's huge. What do you think makes VR therapy so effective?
Well, there are a couple of things at play.
Mm-hmm.
I think first, like we talked about, VR provides that safe space to practice. You can try different things, you can make mistakes and learn from them without that fear of like real life judgment or repercussions. But beyond just having a safe space, VR also helps you build those crucial coping skills by repeatedly facing those anxiety-inducing situations. But in this virtual world, you start to develop those strategies to manage your anxiety. It's like adding new tools to your mental toolkit so you can handle anxiety better in the real world.
I love that analogy of a mental toolkit. It really highlights that VR isn't just like masking the symptoms. It's giving people the power to actually, tackle anxiety head on.
Exactly.
So we've seen how effective this therapy can be, but what does this mean for the future of anxiety treatment, especially for, autistic individuals?
Well, this is where things get really interesting.
Oh.
This study shows that VR therapy could be a total game changer. It's a new and engaging approach, especially for those who might not really connect with the traditional talk therapy methods.
Yeah, I can definitely see how the interactive nature of VR could be more appealing, especially I'd say for younger generations who are already so immersed in technology and, the digital world. But what about people who maybe don't have access to this kind of technology? How do we make sure that everyone who needs it can actually benefit from it?
That's a crucial point, and it's something we need to think about carefully. One of the great things about VR therapy is that it can actually be delivered remotely. So you don't need to be in a specific location or have access to specialized therapists. It really has the potential to break down those geographical barriers and make this type of quality mental health care more accessible to everyone.
That's a really important point. But, accessible also means affordable, right? How do we make sure that this technology is actually available to everyone who needs it and not just, a select few?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? Affordability, how do we do it? Well, we need to get creative with funding models and explore ways to make the tech itself cheaper. It's about making sure that the cost doesn't become a wall for the folks who could really use this.
For sure. And you mentioned earlier that like one size doesn't fit all. What about like individualizing this treatment?
Yeah, personalization is key, right?
Mhm.
Everyone experiences anxiety in their own way, and VR therapy needs to reflect that. We need to develop programs that are tailored for different ages, anxiety levels, even specific situations that cause anxiety for different people. It can't just be one VR program for anxiety. It's got to be like a whole toolbox of virtual experiences that you can then kind of customize to fit each person's needs.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about finding the right tool for the job, just like with that mental toolkit analogy we were talking about earlier. Now, we focused a lot on anxiety, but could VR be used to address other challenges that autistic individuals often face? I'm really curious about this.
Oh, absolutely. The potential goes way beyond anxiety. Think about sensory sensitivities that many autistic individuals experience. VR could be used to create these controlled environments where they can slowly get used to different sensory inputs. It's like a virtual training ground for the senses.
So instead of being overwhelmed by a loud noise or bright light in the real world, you could kind of practice handling those sensations in VR first. That's amazing.
Exactly. And what about communication difficulties? VR could be a safe space to practice social skills and communication in different situations. Like imagine a virtual cafe where you can practice ordering a coffee, a virtual classroom where you can practice presentations, or even a virtual job interview. The possibilities are really quite exciting.
It's like having all these different social situations right there at your fingertips, ready to be explored and mastered. What about job training? Could VR play a role there too?
Definitely, we could build virtual work environments where people can learn specific job skills, practice workplace etiquette, and gain confidence they need to succeed. This could be especially helpful for individuals who might find traditional job training programs a bit too overwhelming or anxiety-provoking.
So it's not just about therapy and skill building, it's about opening up a whole new world of opportunities for autistic individuals to learn, grow, and thrive. It's incredible. But like any new technology, I guess there are some potential downsides as well, right? What are some of the challenges we need to be aware of as VR becomes more common?
One thing to think about is making sure that VR is used to complement, not replace, real-world experiences. While it's a powerful tool, it's really important that people still have chances to interact with the real world and build relationships with actual people.
So it's all about balance, using VR as a kind of stepping stone to a richer, fuller life, not as an escape from reality. Are there any other things we should keep in mind?
Yeah, it's super important that we involve autistic individuals in every step of this process.
Yeah.
Their lived experiences, their perspectives, their insights are essential in shaping how VR is developed and used.
Mm.
We need to ensure that this technology is truly serving their needs and empowering them in ways that matter to them.
Absolutely. It's about collaboration and creating something with autistic individuals, not just for them. We've covered a lot today, from the specifics of VR therapy for anxiety to the broader uses and even potential challenges of this tech. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about. If VR can create these virtual worlds where anything is possible, what kind of world would you create for autistic individuals? A world where they feel understood, accepted, and empowered. A world free from the limitations and anxieties that they might face in the real world. It's a powerful question and something worth thinking about as we continue to explore what VR can do. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Wow, it's been quite a journey exploring the world of VR and, its potential impact on autistic individuals.
It really has. And what I find so inspiring is how this technology is really bridging that gap between the digital world and human experience. It's like opening up all these new ways to learn, grow, and connect with each other.
Yeah, I think what stood out to me the most is how VR can really empower individuals to face their challenges and, discover new possibilities. We've seen it with anxiety, but like we said, the applications go way beyond that.
Totally. It's like a whole new dimension of support and understanding is opened up.
Exactly. And as research continues and technology keeps evolving, who knows what other amazing breakthroughs are waiting for us?
Oh, the possibilities are limitless.
Yeah.
I'm particularly excited to see how autistic individuals themselves will shape the future of VR.
Mm.
You know, their creativity, their insights are going to be so valuable in driving innovation and making sure that this technology really reflects their needs and aspirations.
Sure. It's a future I'm really optimistic about.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of VR and autism. We hope you've learned something new today, and even more importantly, that you've come away with a sense of wonder and possibility.
Remember, this is just the start.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep believing in the power of technology to change the world for the better. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to create the next big VR experience that empowers autistic individuals to really live their lives to the fullest. Until next time, keep diving deep.